Hello, and welcome back for another speed build video. Today is a fun little renovation. So I don't do renovations too often, but I do have a redemption over on Twitch where if you save up enough of your Bark Rose channel points that you can redeem a custom build. So I had a custom build request come in. Now, this is from months ago, and I hate that it took me this long to get to it, but it's finished now, and someone had requested that I do a renovation of the Information Center in Strangerville. So if you're not familiar with what it looks like originally, I'm going to show y'all. It's on this little lot, though, in the center of the town square. But this is what it looks like from the front. You know, kind of just plain, not much going on. And then the inside, it just has, you know, the usual things, some computers, books, and that's about it. So very plain, got a little bathroom in the corner over here. And then it has an upstairs space that it just doesn't use. I think it was more for just the roof line. And so now getting into the actual speed build portion, whenever I do renovations, I actually try to keep it as like a renovation. And what I mean by that is I feel like there are sometimes people who do renovations where they only focus on the like inside. Nothing wrong with that. I think everyone approaches a renovation differently, and it just depends on the build too and what your goal is. So for me, I always like to do renovations where I change both the exterior and interior, but I don't really consider like completely redoing the build as like a renovation. That's more of like a complete rebuild, you know? So I tried to keep some of the main structure whenever I do renovations, and I try to keep some of the same like materials and style of what's there. I wanted to basically just modernize it a little bit, but I still wanted it to be really quirky because it is in Strangerville, so I wanted some elements that also maybe seemed a little off about it or were a little weird, and I just thought that was the best vibe to go with. And I don't know why, but Strangerville like has these really beautiful doors and windows, but I don't know why the red was calling to me, but I feel like just a bright, vibrant color is like the way to go with something like this if you were to build in Strangerville, and I find that to be a bit odd. But the original structure had this like siding with the paneling, and I wanted to keep that, so I just changed the aesthetic a little bit with this red swatch, and I don't remember if it was the same wallpaper. I think it was maybe the same wallpaper, different color. I'd have to go in and check, but I kept the little squares outside on the sidewalk here too and just changed the actual tile. So again, trying to just keep some elements of the original lot intact without like just completely redoing everything, because otherwise you're just rebuilding a structure. So one fun thing about this build was, first of all, it got me out of my comfort zone some because I don't do a lot of like libraries. I've done a makeover challenge actually from forever ago. I'll link it down below if you want to check it out. But I like completely took this like pink library and made it black, or maybe it was black and I made it pink. I actually don't remember the direction of it. But it was a huge library, but it was one of my makeover challenges where it's not really a renovation, but it's not like completely rebuilding or anything either. It's more just changing the style and aesthetic of it. So if you want to check that out, it's from a long time ago. Don't hold me to that video. I've gotten a lot better, I think, at content creation since then. But I did also want to like actually utilize the second floor space, because in the original build, you just had the roof for it, and it was like just making it have the high-pitched roof and give that style with the fence around it. So I kept it and just deleted the roof pieces around it, and I wanted the third floor to be this fun scientific area. So I put this dome up top, which took me forever, and it was annoying because I couldn't center it the way that I wanted to. It's a little off-centered, but I put the observatory in there, the huge telescope, and I think that's a really cute vibe. And then I actually also end up adding a basement. So it goes from just being a one-floor building to having 3 floors. And in the sub-level is like a secret little lab space. So I had a lot of fun building this though, and like trying to think of the concept of it. And then I put those little windows above the front door because again, I wanted to do something that just felt a little off or weird. And I thought those were like the best thing to do for having it be a little bit odd and quirky from the front whenever you're looking at it. I don't know. It was just a vibe. So for the inside, I didn't like how the whole space was just entirely open. I thought we needed more defined spaces. So the first thing I did was I plopped a big room in the center of the library space, and then I'm just like expanding the top a little bit more here. But I end up putting like this study room that's in the center, and then going from like left to right in a clockwise fashion. On the left side, you have like chess boards, things like that in that area with some bookcases. As you wrap around, there's like a little conference room in the back corner that I added. And then there's like a fireplace with nice seating in the back. And then as you continue through the build, I do keep the bathroom in the same area. I kind of slightly change the shape of it. But then I put this alcove nook area with a lot of benches where you can sit in, like by the window. There's a lot of pillows. It's just a cute vibe. And then as you wrap around back to the front, you have the check-in desk. So I was trying to do something fun with this space instead of it just being a big open, kind of boring and plain library. So I also had these staircases wrapped around, and it took me a minute to figure out how I wanted this to work because it wasn't going to work the way I have them currently. Because once you add the railings, it clips like into the center of the platform there. So I had to go back and actually like kind of delete everything and then add in a platform. But this was also before the stair update. I did go in and fix it, obviously. I haven't uploaded it yet, but I did fix it to where the rails don't like clip into the wall. So it would have been helpful at the time when I was doing it this way, but I didn't like the lip that was in the center of the platform anyway. So this is where I add this platform and then I add the staircases back in because I really like this double staircase that goes up and around on each side. I think that's just like a grand entrance and gives it a lot more character to me. It's a little tight, but I like the like coziness in the front of the space and the library and just around it in general. So it's not like a lot of big open spaces until like the very back of it. But I just really liked the aesthetic of it and I thought it made it cozier. So I wanted the inside to be a little bit like warmer. I use a lot of really dark brown, like chocolatey brown colors throughout the build as well. And I just like the, not necessarily like dingy, dark and dingy like type of energy, but I just really like the aesthetic of having something that feels more rustic in a way with Strangerville. It just matched the aesthetic, I feel like, and I wanted the interior to not be like so off from the exterior and what you're seeing. So it's like I didn't want the exterior to have this kind of rustic look with some modern touches and then the inside be like completely modern or something like that. It would have been really weird. So I use a lot of wood tones. I use this Grange Mudroom Kit wallpaper at first. I don't know if I actually kept that. I think I did, but yeah, I took the one with the coating off of it. I don't remember. I don't remember. But I did use that, I think. I love that wallpaper. It's one of my favorites that's newer. And then for the study space, I ended up using, I think that's the Adventure Awaits wallpaper. Yeah, okay, I do go back and change it. I thought I did, but I wasn't quite sure. So you can see I just expanded the bathroom a little bit, and I'm trying to like define the spaces. Like I said, I didn't want it to all be open. I wanted there to be like different sections because I feel like whenever I go to a library, which not gonna lie, it's been a minute since I've been to a library, but I feel like it always has its like designated spaces for different areas. So I wanted like a dedicated study space, a dedicated reading space. You have an area with activities like with the chess. So I just thought that was the way to go more so with this. We do have computers as well. And I put that like upstairs in the top space and then also in the center study room. So that center room is meant to be like a study area. And then in the basement, we also actually have a couple of computers. But I opted to go with this fireplace because I liked the way or the idea of like putting the book nook kit shelves, and it ends up working out really well to have like a built-in look. So you'll see that in just a second. But I'm working on the secret basement right now, and I did make it with the secret bookcase. So this is not accessible to like everyone necessarily. And I like that way. I don't know. I feel like maybe there's a secret society, like a secret scientific society of some sort that gets access to this downstairs. I just feel like I like the mystery of it. I don't think we really need the story for it. I love storytelling, but I almost, for this build, with it being in Strangerville, like the idea of like maybe you come up with the storyline for it and it's there and it's like, how do you interpret the situation here? Like, what's going on? Like, you have this secret base downstairs, but then you have this really accessible third floor that has all of this cool equipment. So, like, why is the basement so, like, secretive? Like, what's going on down there? And that's just the vibe that I was going for with it. I don't know. I thought it was, like, nice to have a little mysterious touch. And then I found these, like, computer parts, like the big pieces, and I actually clip it into the staircase, into the panels, and I thought that was a really cool, like, aesthetic. So I put those across the back wall, and then I actually will put like a couple of desks in here as well with some like hood spaces for the science tables and stuff like that. So I don't know. I really had fun with this. It definitely is not something I would have done without someone requesting it. And I feel like I learned about a lot of new objects, and just I'm glad I got to use objects that I don't use very often. Strangerville is one of those like DLC that it's kind of for a specific type of build, like Journey to Batu as well. I actually used a good bit of Journey to Batu on the third floor. I know some of y'all are not going to be happy about that, but that's okay. You can get over it. If I got over it, you can get over it. But I actually ended up going back way later into the speed build and actually add a hood to this right alcove space because when we were doing shell tours, we recently did shell tours, by the way. I had a shell from New Year's Eve and we just did the tours this past Sunday. Really incredible builds. I am like always amazed at the things that I learned from you all. So thank you so much if you participated in that. It was a blast to see what you did with them, genuinely. It's like so many talented people, and I've already used a few ideas that I saw other people do in a couple of other builds as well. But I saw someone actually use the Love Struck window. We have a window like where it folds open. It's like a little small window. And I immediately thought of like a scientific hood. You know, like if you're in a wet lab in science, you have these hood spaces that have the panels that you can open and close, and like you can reach in with your gloves on or whatever, and you have the hood above it. So I made that for the right side, and I actually ended up using those windows as a couple of like little places where you can put your arms in, just for the same type of vibe. So I would not have thought about doing that if I didn't see one of your builds. So thank you so much for the idea. And now I'm getting to where I do this like custom built-in look around the fireplace like this. Now, is it smart to have books like this built into a fireplace? Absolutely not. I mean, you're literally like you're giving energy to the fire here. Like you're putting fire in the fire. You're putting something in the fire. I can't think of what is the phrase I'm trying to think of right now. I'm not adding gasoline to the fire, but essentially the same type of idea. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's it's just it's my brain. It's my brain tumor. It's fine. Everything's okay. Now I was like wanting to go with the dark colors here, the seating area as well. It is a little bit tight. Your Sims can walk through though. I mean, there's a full tile right there on the left side that your Sim can walk by. But I did put quite a bit of furniture in here because I like the idea again of it having this cozy aesthetic and there being like a lot of room for people to sit down, read, do homework, whatever it is that you're doing. And then in this back corner is where I added that conference room. Now it was a little bit tricky because the space was tight. So I opted for this like corner design for it, and I think it worked out fine. And I put a TV with a long table in it because that's generally like what I see all the time in conference rooms now, especially with everything being virtual. So you can do virtual conference calls is like my idea with this. And then I put like a lot of fun clutter in here with a lot of laptops at the table and study stacks and things like that. Like there was a group project happening or something along those lines. So I had a lot of fun, I think, putting some more like character into the build. I get like with base game builds in the game, like you're limited. They can't do a lot of objects and use a lot of things. But I just feel like if you're doing a build for Strangerville and it's like a library space, you have to do some like pretty fun things and use it in a fun way. And so I just feel like from the basement to like the second floor, you get some really different types of vibes for each level and what the spaces to be used for. Obviously the first floor is like more specific and like the main use is the library, like any type of library, but then you get fun stuff on the basement and then you have like really fun stuff on the third floor or second floor, third floor of the build, but second floor above ground level. So you know what I mean. And then I added like these little emblem crests that we have. I put that on the floor at the entrance. I don't use those super often, but I thought this was perfect for this build. Now, I will say the new expansion pack just came out with Royalty and Legacy, and there were some really good items that worked well for this type of space. So I did go back in and add a little bit from that DLC, but if you don't have it and you don't want to buy it, that's perfectly fine. You don't need it to download this build. It was just like some clutter items, so nothing major from that DLC went into this build at all. So don't worry about that. But I did use probably a pretty good bit of packs, but I was trying to use a lot of like Strangerville, obviously, because we're in Strangerville. And then also with Journey to Batu up on the top. Get to Work was another one that I think I used a decent amount of stuff from. So, top of mind, those are the three that come to mind more than anything else as far as like expansion packs are concerned, but I haven't uploaded it to the gallery yet. So we'll find out at the end of this video how many packs I use, because I know it's a lot of packs, but I don't know which ones would be like the most prioritized. I feel like Book Nook Kit maybe is important because I do have all the books in the back wall, but I mean, you could easily go without that or add in your own bookcases. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes people just don't download builds whenever there are a lot of DLC, but at the end of the day, like you can still use the shell if anything, and you can keep the same vibe of the floor plan and layout, but just like add the furniture that you have available to you, you know. So if you don't have that one specific bookcase, that's fine. You can just add a different one. It's not a big deal. So I don't know. I just don't think people should be so deterred from not having all of the DLC to download builds. Like, make it your own. Maybe that's what's more fun about it, is like you get to make it more your own with what you have available to you. So, you know, just an idea with that. Now I'm like starting to go through and put some of the details. We have like really cute, like quiet and like book posters. So I was trying to put those around. I went back and forth on that simply because they were a little childish looking. I was like, I don't have a kids space in here. Now I did do a like library bookstore type vibe in a previous build back in June of last year that had a dedicated kids space. Those would have been perfect for there. I don't even think I used them in that build because I didn't realize we had them, but it was nice to learn that we had those in the first place. And then I'm just like putting some nice little touches on the first floor here. I was wanting to put some like pictures around the space, some like older looking pictures, again, just to lean into the Strangerville vibes a good bit. I feel like older aesthetic was the way to go with some of the decor in here. And then I'm just like cluttering up some of the coffee tables. I don't know. I feel like whenever it comes to community lots, I think the one thing that I struggle a pretty good bit with these types of builds is that whenever I'm doing residential, I go into storytelling mode a lot more easily. But when it comes to community lots, it's like it's for all sims. So like trying to figure out a story you want to tell with this isn't maybe it's not natural to me because I don't build a lot of community lots, but it's a fun thing to think about, like what types of people live in the town, you know, like what types of people are coming here. And do we have a lot of kids? Maybe we don't want to raise kids in a place called Strangerville where people can get abducted by aliens. You know, I don't know. So I don't know. I thought about putting a dedicated kid space, but I was like, I don't think that's the vibe for this. It just didn't seem right to have something that was cutesy in the build. Again, I wanted the main floor to be like a normal library for the most part, but then I wanted like really strange vibes in the top floor and the basement. Now, what you're seeing me do here is, if you've ever worked with Book Nook Kit, and the modular shelves, love that they're modular, but also hate that they're modular because it's a lot harder to work with sometimes when you're trying to do clutter, especially if you're trying to alt place clutter, because the slots don't work on half of them, like nothing slots to them. And then the ones that do, you have to fill them in, because with the modular pieces, even if they're like stacked with a shelf on top of a shelf, the top of the shelf is still slottable. I don't get why they did it that way. I feel like if you have a modular piece of furniture and you slot a shelf on top of a shelf, those top slots of that bottom shelf should no longer be slottable because you have a shelf stacked on top of it. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think I'm able to explain it very well. I think some of y'all are probably following what I'm saying. So I took the cutting boards because they're nice and flat and I could size them down easily. I didn't want to deal with like trying to put objects in that I have to delete or anything. And even with some of the objects you can size down, they still stick through the books. So I wanted something that was really flat. So I don't know if that's a hack or not, but if you're trying to, you know, put some clutter in those shelves and you have them modular and stacked up and it's like slotting to the top of a shelf, that it just doesn't make sense to put it there. Put the cutting boards in, because we have a few different cutting board items from a few different kits. Like Kitchen Clutter has one, Garden to Table has one. I think they work really well, and they hide themselves in the shelf because they're so thin off of the surface. So, you know, that's just one thing that I do. And now I'm like going through and putting the different book clutter into the shelves. I didn't want all of the like shelves that were open to be filled with books. I honestly like to fill them more with clutter and decor items because it almost looks a little weird to me where you have these empty spaces and bookcases that have these books that are already pre-slotted, and then you put completely different looking books in them. And I get naturally in a library especially, like you would have books that don't really look the same next to one another, but in the game it sticks out like a sore thumb, which is obnoxious. So I usually try to put like other types of clutter objects in because I don't like the way that the textures look so different, the style is so different sometimes. It's hard to do. Now we're getting into the top floor here. So I leaned into the Strangerville vibes a good bit. Used these lights that I like never use with the UFO lights. I think they were really fun to incorporate. And then I use a lot of clutter objects from Journey to Batu. So that's primarily the only reason you would maybe want that game pack if you downloaded this. But again, not a big deal. You can like completely clutter the space the way that you want to in the top floor. And just know that it's going to be basically kind of empty for the most part. I used a pretty good bit. I used a lot of Strangerville though up here too. So a lot of like the desk surfaces, the chairs, a lot of the like clutter as well, and little like electronics things are from Strangerville. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. And like you can see here, I even had the Strangerville filter on because I was trying to pull stuff that was primarily from Strangerville. I am trying to get a little bit more mindful when I'm doing some of these builds that I use a lot of DLC, but if I'm going to use a lot of DLC, I at least try to stick to a handful that like make up most of the stuff in the build. I can't promise that every time, but I try to think of that a lot of the time when I'm building. That way it's like, okay, you don't need all the DLC, but maybe these 5 DLC are the ones that you should prioritize if you want to download this and not have to like completely redo the entire build. So I try to be mindful of that somewhat because I get a lot of people don't have like all the DLC. And especially right now with the climate we're in with purchasing DLC, totally understandable. So, by no means need to have all of the DLC to download these. So I put like a lot of these computer parts, a lot of the tendrils or whatever with the plants, and I actually put like one of the things over here that they grow in, I guess, where you can study them and whatever. But we had a poster that kind of matched the vibes that I put there. So that's like a little detail I feel like would go unnoticed for the most part. And then we had these TVs, and I actually slotted them into these spaces because they fit perfectly. I honestly don't know how I even thought about doing that. That was not planned. It was just like, oh wait, we have these TVs that have like the cool graphics on them. What if I could put them up somewhere up here? And I was like, not sure where to put them. And then I saw we had those empty glass panels and those big objects that we have. Those are sized down, by the way. I have no idea what they're supposed to be other than just computer panels, like general computer panels to have a vibe. I don't even think they're functional. They might be, but I just thought that was a fun way to incorporate that into the build. So that's what we have going on there. Then I just put some more boxes and such from Journey to Batu. The curtains were a little bit tricky. We have this one curtain that I use that is oh God, I think it's vampires. I think it's from Vampires. Or is it Realm of Magic? I think it might be Realm of Magic, actually. I don't remember. I'm struggling. But over that one arched kind of window in the front, because it was such a unique shape, so I had to use like a different curtain there. And it doesn't still quite match the vibe. I wasn't really happy or fond of it, but it is what it is. And I put some more books up here just because that made sense. We still want it to be like a study space of some sort, but like a mad scientist type space. So I don't know. I put like the cluttered files all over the place. I put like scattered pictures and like paper everywhere. I just thought that was the vibe we were going for up here, and putting some like unique, fun objects here and there throughout the build. And then this is where I put this in this corner. And then I did put one of the like tendril things in there. And then I put the poster right there as well. So I'll show y'all on the tour, like the little detail with that matching the vibes. I feel like it matches. And then I put some like filing cabinets over here, just some typical like, workspace objects, for lack of a better word. So that was from Get to Work. And then I put like the fun little computers. So each desk has its own computer, but it's like we have the alien computer, the spy computer, like just the fun ones, generally speaking. And I thought that was like a neat vibe to put it. But I'll go ahead and show y'all the rest of the build since we're getting to the end here anyway. So this is the build from the outside. I think it looks really, really cute. I love it. I think it's got some fun like energy to it that's a little off in a way. Like there's something about it that just doesn't quite mesh well, but I think it like works collectively. So this is what it looks like though from the outside, and I think it's beautiful. And then also at nighttime, just to show y'all, I love this. I put like little spotlights. I did like put like 4 or 5 depending on the space. This one I put like 1 extra one, but I like the idea of it being lit at night, so I think that's a cool little detail. So now let's head inside. As we come in through the front right here, you can see we have our entrance to this little study area. Off to the right is where you can come check in, check out books, whatever. We have a little log. And then I'm going to go in this like order that I told y'all about it in the first place. But when you come to the left, we have our chess tables, so you can work on your logic a pretty good bit. I like the idea that maybe we have clubs that come here and do that. And then you're wrapping around, you get to your conference room. So this is what that ended up looking like. I put some like fun laptops and like just some fun little clutter bookcase over there. So I just think it's cute how it like works together. Then you come over into this space. I put like a little coffee cart area. Of course I had to. I almost always have to have coffee or tea in my builds. And then we have like this area over here where the secret bookcase door is. We have our cluttered bookcases over here, more seating. And then we have our like little bathroom here. Not much to see in here necessarily, but it is cute nonetheless. And then this is the alcove that I was talking about. So I love the idea that like libraries have this space where you can like sit by the window, or like just a chill area where you have a lot of pillows, just relax and read if you wanted to. And just a lot of book clutter. Literally book clutter is everywhere for the most part. And then again, wrapping around to our check-in desk. Absolutely love the way that this turned out. I think it's beautiful. I love the rustic vibes though. I'm gonna be honest. I really like how we did that. Now the door to the basement. So you come in and it's just really slim. There are 2 staircases similar to like upstairs. So as you come down the stairs, this is what I was talking about with these windows. So I like the idea of this being a hood. So I made it like a vent. And what I did was I put a half wall up to that height and then put these vents from Journey to Batu that I had sized down up at the top. So I just think it's cute. You have like your little instructions here, your protective gear, you know. I don't know. I like the idea. I think it's a nice little detail. And then you just have more of the like, I think this is the spy stuff. I can't remember, and I don't want to get out of tab mode. But I love the vibe of everything down here. It's kind of like mysterious. What is going on down here? Like what is this? What are we doing? What are we experimenting with down here? So as we come back upstairs, we come out. We can go up the stairs to see what's going on up there, but you just wrap around. I love the way that the sunlight beams through the windows. I talk about this every time I tour a build, I feel like. So as you come up here, this is the main study room in the center. It's like the heart of the library. So I like the idea that people are sitting here doing all of their work, have all sorts of book clutter and just like phones, notepads, have a water bottle. Only one person here is hydrated. That sounds about right. And then as we come up the stairs, wrap around here, this is the top floor. We have like the UFO poster with this, which I feel like goes hand in hand a pretty good bit. Got our little jukebox thing. I don't know what this is, but it looked cool behind it, so I sized it down and put that there. We have our locker back here. And then the observatory being up here at the top is obviously like the main point of interest, I feel like. And then just a lot of clutter. I pulled some stuff from this like Journey to Batu stuff as well, like I had mentioned. And we have our desk spaces like aligned about this back wall. So maybe they have like a lot of people interested in science and space and weird things because of the UFO abductions and things that are happening here. So, you know, I just wanted to play on that a pretty good bit. And I think it ended up working out just fine. But we have our like dome. I did put this on a platform to make it a little bit more, you know, realistic, because off the platform is a little bit on the lower end, and I was like, maybe that doesn't make sense, but I think it turned out pretty cute. But this is the build like from a top-down view, just to give you more ideas. I just really like how I went from like a super open floor plan to a more closed floor plan, but it's more functional. There are a lot of cool little nooks and crannies that you can do different things in. I don't know. I like the way that it turned out. And then the top floor is just really fun. I don't know, what you would be doing, but like we have the plant over here as well. Oh, I did have a tendril here. You know what? I might actually switch these. I forgot whenever I moved the tendril to the other side. Like maybe it makes more sense since we have the plant right here. Like this looks like a plant, so it makes more sense to put that over there now. Live building. But that's the build. I think it turned out cute. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Oh my god. It looks so bad from that angle. I might have to put SV. I don't think people will know what that stands for, but they can make it out. Information Center Reno. Oh no, I don't have enough. Okay, I can put info. How short can I get this? Come on, you can do it, gallery. The gallery has been so bad lately. It did get uploaded. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, see, I used a ton of DLC. I'm sorry. Almost $200,000. That honestly is surprising. I wasn't expecting it to be quite that much. That's pretty crazy. And again, if you want to follow me over on Twitch, I have that linked below, and then you could request a custom build from me eventually. The next one I'm doing is for one of my mods, actually, and she wanted me to do like a mid-century modern build, so I'm really excited to get into that. We've been doing a lot of other fun builds. I started maybe this series of doing Animal Crossing builds, so I just finished a build that's inspired by Chai, which is one of my favorite villagers from Animal Crossing. So let me know if you'd be interested in me starting that type of series. I have so many ideas and I just want to keep building because I love playing The Sims so much. It's like my fun escape from reality. But thank you if you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much to my Soul supporters. I genuinely appreciate the fact that you want to support me as a content creator. It means the world to me. So shout out to y'all. If you'd like to check out my last renovation video, I'll put that over here for you. That's probably a pretty old video because it's been a minute. It might even be the one I did from San Sequoia. I honestly can't remember the last renovation video I did, but I had a lot of fun with it. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? Bye! Okay, so what is the next renovation that I should do? I need some thoughts down below.